What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Talking to the Doll Benfica podcast, episode number 282. I had to look and let's count. My name is Alfredo. I'm here tonight with Cristiano Oliveira, as always. Cristiano, diz olá, senhores.
Olá, senhores e senhoras, tudo bem hoje?
And up in the Great White North, Mr. Dave de Oliveira, our stat master.
How's it going tonight?
Yeah, and Steve Santos. Steve Santos. What's happening, Steve?
Kind of hot out, nice and hot out today, but still kind of depressed, dude.
Yeah. So on tonight's podcast, we will look back at Benfica's game against Tondela, and we'll look ahead to the big game for all the for all the Champions League marbles.
Big.
Anyway. I'm going to try to keep this upbeat tonight. We all know where we are as far as the season goes. If you listen to our podcast, and if you're an avid listener, an habitual listener, you know how we have felt all season, not only this season but in past seasons. So it's no surprise to us, right? There's a lot of guys that. Especially in the block sphere that are taking advantage of this time to really let out their frustrations, criticize in every way, shape, and form. Obviously, that criticism is due, right? The club has to really, and especially the structure has to really take some time and reflect on what happened this season, and really find out what worked, what didn't work, mostly what didn't work, and take it from there, and start thinking about the next season already.
You know, when you started, if you listen to our podcast, right, I thought you were going to go down the lines of telling people that you know how smart Chris is, because when we all sat here and we pretty much crowned ourselves champions and congratulated ourselves, saying there was no way this was going to slip up, Chris was wise enough to say, I don't know. And, you know, a lot of people did call me out on Twitter. A lot of people thought I was crazy and nervous and yada, yada, yada. But as big as a Benfiquista as I am, I like to be realistic and look at what's ahead.
Here's the thing.
And I think you guys jinxed it, so you guys owe the public an apology.
Yeah, maybe. The thing is that considering what we knew from the past two seasons, and considering how the team is always strongest at the end, they make those runs that they end up winning the championship. Going into that Porto game, I was feeling pretty confident. So, as many other people were. And that's why I think losing to Porto was such a huge punch in the stomach that I'm still trying to recover for it.
You and the squad.
Yeah. And now this Tondela on top of it. So let's get right into this Tondela game.
Chris,
I'll give you. Go ahead.
You didn't slide him 50s the last time you were there? What's this all about? I heard we have octopuses everywhere and you didn't do your job?
I got to be honest. I mean, if you guys watched the Tondela game, Claudio Ramos, the duct tape he had on his socks, I actually gave it to him. So I gave him that, but it wasn't enough, obviously.
So anyway, let's get right into this Tondela game. I'll give you the lineup. Varela was in goal. Almeida, Luizão, Dias, Grimaldo, Samaris, Pizzi, Zivkovic were in the midfield. Half on one wing, Servi on the other, and Jimenez up front. So let's talk about this lineup. Right, I didn't read it, but Peggy did tell me that he read on the ball of the game, the day prior to the game, or the edition prior to the game, that there was doubts on whether or not Feza was going to play. As a matter of fact, a baller projected that Feza would not play.
And Jardel.
I don't know. I didn't read about Jardel.
They were both question marks.
So here's the thing, right? Because a lot of the talking points goes back to, so Dias was in danger of getting suspended if he picked up a yellow. Jardel was also in danger. Grimaldo was also in danger, and Feza was also in danger. So knowing what we know as far as how Rui Vitória approaches these games, and we've always asked here, Chris, does Rui Vitória rest this guy ahead of a big game? What does he do? And your opinion was always, we got to play our whatever strongest squad we have, because the next game is always the most important game. And for the most part, Rui Vitória always fell into that. He always followed that
In
logic.
case in point, look at the example now. He saved the guys, and for what? Let's just say
we don't know.
That's where I was going. Let's just say he did save them rather than them. Rather than the guys needing a break because they were either hurt or exhausted, or whatever it may be. But let's just say he made the decision to give these guys a break, right? Give these guys a breather, make sure that they're nice and fresh for next week. And it all goes downhill. It's irrelevant now at this point.
Well, yeah.
Now, it happened. It just so happens that it's against your crosstown rival. And now this game becomes the most important game of the year. This is the biggest game of the year for Benfica now, because this game right here will pretty much guarantee the winner of this game a Champions League spot going into next year. As everyone knows, the champion goes directly into the Champions League, and the second place team goes to qualify. There's no longer 3 teams, Portuguese
or even
teams,
2.
or even 2. Well, they go into the qualifier. That's
direct.
But yeah. So at least you messed me all up where I was at. But yeah, this game is important. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say. It just so happens that it's that important because of the magnitude of the Champions League on it. Let's just say Sporting was 5 points behind Benfica, and he did rest the guys. Now you lost the title. It's irrelevant to rest the guys. So the most important game is the game at hand.
Yeah, and here's the thing, right? So I didn't read Bola, but Peggy did call it out. He did say that he read it, that face. I don't know about Jardel. If Jardel was also not included in the projected starting 11. But here's one thing that I'll throw at you. With both Diaz and Jardel in risk of picking up a suspension if they picked up yellow cards, maybe he said, well, you know what? I'll throw Luizão in there, and at least I'll save one guy. And then if the other guy happens to be suspended, I have one guy that I saved up, and at least I'll get one of my starters against Sporting. We don't know. We don't know if that's what happened. Benfica's communication this year has been putrid, has been the worst communication as far as the club, as far as the conditions of players, and now things are starting to surface in regards to the injury and the treatment that Krovinovic has been undergoing. There's a whole new theory out there that it's if it's true, it's something that we should definitely be worried about. But nonetheless, we don't know what really happened. I mean, Benfica is not mandated by the league to divulge whoever's hurt. Whether it's a real list, whether they're really hurt or not, they're not obligated by the league to divulge whoever's hurt.
Benfica or every other team in the Premier League.
Right. So we don't know if there was some saving, if the guys were really hurt, if the guys were 80%, then he felt, well, let me not risk this because the next game is more important. Regardless, it doesn't line up with what the logic and thinking that Rui Vitória had done in the past and never saving guys. I mean, we saw Pizzi that carried a fourth yellow card for 5 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it was, and he kept on playing. He kept putting him in there. It was never, I'm going to save this guy because I'm thinking in the next game. So there's that logic that you could grab onto. The other thing is that I think it's too much of a coincidence that both Jardel and Fesa, which are guys that are important guys in this team, sat in this game. So let me just set the stage. Also, Tondela comes into Estádio da Luz with really nothing to play for. They were already they've already secured promotion. They were in a very stable position in the league. They're coming into Estádio da Luz to play relaxed. We're nothing to lose, just play their game. And I think that's how they approach. Benfica did get the goal early on in the 12th minute by Pizzi, a rare game, and Dave brings this up all the time. Then whenever Pizzi scores, Benfica wins. So now the streak is over. But Tondela never really seemed that afraid of Benfica. They kept playing. They stuck to their game plan. And here's the thing. Here's the thing that I'll say to you, Steve. Knowing that Benfica has finals, right? They have all these finals. If they want to have a chance to do something, you got Porto playing Amaritimo, a field where they haven't won in a long time. And this is the one game that Benfiquistas are hoping that Porto is going to slip up and we're going to gain some points on them, right? So what I really don't get is how the team approaches this game, right? We should have gone from the onset, from the beginning whistle, right on top of Tondela, dominating, pressuring, attacking, creating chances. And this is something that we didn't see. The game finished, the half finishes, and Benfica is down 2-1.
I said earlier, a couple podcasts ago, or after the Porto game, and I said it last week again. Our reaction to that loss and the way we lost in the last minute like that would have been one of the more important things to see, and it's been bad. I mean, the Studio game prior to this game was bad. This game was bad. I really think that this team has lost all belief in themselves, belief in the Penta, and it's showing. I mean, I saw something Sergio Ingracia posted on, I think it was Instagram, and he was like, one thing I could take away from the stadium today was the fans were the only ones that believed that we could still win. And I'd have to believe that. I mean, the players on the pitch, okay, there was guys with yellow cards in hand, or yellow card away from playing versus Sporting, but there was very little intensity, lack of ideas, lack of motivation. Just, this game has a lot to do with tactics, a lot to do with technique, but the mental side is huge. It's probably bigger than both of them put together. And Benfica just do not look at this moment in the right headspace to get the results, whether it's a combination. I think it's a combination of all things. Jonas being hurt and knowing how dependent we are on Jonas for goals, for build-up play, continuity in our play, everything that Jonas brings to us, with the way that Porto smashed and grabbed kind of in the last minute on us. I really think that we're deflated at this point, and it's going to take a huge jump in intensity and belief for us to get a result in Alvalade, I believe, this weekend. I think it's going to be, if we approach the game that we've approached the way we've approached the last two games, with the same type of mentality, the same type of almost, I don't want to say defeated before it even started, but with that same just lack of heart, I think Sporting are going to do a number on us, and I'm very scared of that. So let's hope that something hits a switch in the squad and we see a different attitude out there, because the one that they're portraying now is not a good one.
Yeah, and we'll get into that Sporting game in a little bit, but I just wanted to say it was Luizão's first appearance since December 13th of last year. Taça Portugal lost against Rio Ave. That was the game that kicked us out of the Taça Portugal, and thanks, Dave, for that. Also, first time since August 25th, 2010, that Benfica has lost at home to a non-Big Three club, and last time was 1-2. Against Académica. So there's quite a few stats that we could throw in there as far as Benfica. Last time Benfica lost more than 5 games at home, 6 games in the 96-97 season. They have given up 5 this year in all competitions. So that's something that they hadn't done in quite a bit. But you talk about Jonas, and definitely you got to think that at this point, Benfica is Jonas dependent, right? When you look at a guy that has 33 goals, and we look at I went ahead and looked at all the past silver ball prizes, which is the prize that, or the trophy that's awarded to the player that gets the most goals in the league. And since 2000-2001 season, only 3 times has the best scorer gone over 30 goals. Jonas is 33. Das Bost, or Bas Dost, scored 34 last season. So here's a guy that we depend heavily on. So a guy that's, 34 years old, Cristiano? A guy that's 34 years old, you can't.
I think he's 34.
You can't.
I don't know. You guys just talking about this game this week. It just demoralized me. I'm like depressed all over again.
Cristiano has checked out.
Took me a couple of days to get it out. You just brought me back to that moment. I'm just having a really hard time,
Cristiano has checked out, but the dependency of Jonas is real, right? There's no, I don't know how many other guys have scored goals, but I think the disparity or the abyss between Jonas and the next guys is huge. And Dave, you could probably look that up.
Dependency for me, it's tough because they are dependent on him to score goals, right? But at the same time, this club, as bad as they've played, and we could pinpoint so many different things that have gone wrong for Benfica since his injury. But say what you want, they are creating chances still. They're just not putting him away. So, yes, they are dependent on him, but not dependent on him to create chances. So it's a give and take here because Jimenez is getting opportunities, doesn't put them away. Whether Jonas is on the field or not, that's not going to dictate or make a difference in Salvio burying the one opportunity late in the second half inside the box, right outside the 6. So yes, they're dependent on him to score goal because he's the one guy on the team that's got world-class finishing ability, but they're not dependent on him to play well. Because they have, I don't know about playing well, but to create chances, I should say. Because they did create chances. They just can't put them in the back of the net.
Right. So they're still,
they are, but they're not. It's kind of like
I know what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying. But I mean,
Steve, my Maluku or what?
When you have a guy that has that level of efficiency,
I agree.
When you create, it's definitely something that you have to worry about.
Jonas doesn't miss much, but Jonas will help you create more as well. But I see where you're going. We've still created enough that we should have not lost games. Yes, I'll agree with that.
Without him, they still create enough chance. When he's there, obviously they create better. There's more flow. I get it. But it wasn't like, oh my God, Jonas not on the field. We can't get the ball over midfield. That's the point I'm making. Yeah.
So Benfica comes out and really nothing new for the second half. Ends up giving up the third goal and going down 3-1 in the 81st minute.
And look, I know a lot of people aren't going to like what I'm about to say.
Go ahead.
A lot of people are going to get pissed off.
I'm glad you interrupted me.
Because I have to, because this is how important it is, right? It is, and I'm sorry. I love you with all due respect, but I have to interrupt because before you go on and I lose my train of thought, I had to jump in here. I'm glad that they scored that third goal. And I know a lot of people are going to say, what the hell, Benfiquista? I'm a diehard Benfiquista, but we have to call a spade a spade.
You're glad that they scored the third goal?
And I'll explain to you why.
Go ahead.
They got robbed, dude. They absolutely they scored a clean third goal. I don't know what the hell the line. As a Benfiquista, I want Benfica to win every single day, but at the same time, I don't want help like that. I could sit here as a Benfiquista and make the argument that Ruben Diaz has no business playing in this upcoming weekend in the derby against Sport because he grabs a guy by the neck. That's a yellow card minimum. 2 weeks ago, I sat here, and I have to be honest, bro. I sat here and I said that Sergio Oliveira should have gone a yellow, should have gone a second yellow for grabbing a guy by the. I can't turn around now when it happens to my team and just turn a blind eye. And again, I don't ever want Benfica to lose, but they scored a clean-ass goal. I don't know what the hell the referee was looking at. Originally, I thought the referee called offsides. What do you want to call paying reach? There wasn't. If anything, Luizão was the one that had his foot up. It just for the love of the game. For the love of the game, and I don't want to say the words.
Fair competition.
I don't want to say that because that's what the other club on the other side of Lisbon keeps saying, for that sportive. But in a way, bro, look, we want a clean game for both sides. You guys, let's be honest. If it was the other way around, we would not be happy. We would not. We all sat here and we called for why in hell didn't Sergio Oliveira see a second yellow, right? And now it happens with our guy and we don't even mention it. That's not the type of person I am. Look, I don't want these things to happen to my club. But at the same time, if my team's going to win, man, I want it to be fair and clean. And
absolutely.
And that was not fair and clean. There's no way that a Benfiquista could sit here and tell me today that whatever reason, right before they scored the actual third goal that counted, they had a clean goal that was waved off. For what reason? Nobody knows. What reason? So I'm sorry, guys. I'm saying that from the bottom. I'm sorry. Because I don't ever want anything bad to happen to Benfica, but we have to call a spade, man. Yeah. And if it was the other way around, we'd all be here complaining.
I get it. You're right. I think that for a team that's supposedly still had title aspirations, the team didn't do nowhere near enough to win this game. Obviously, from you guys that saw the game, you obviously probably saw the same thing that we all saw. But it's mind-boggling to see the team the way they are. But I think that the team resigned themselves to have lost this championship when they lost to Porto, especially in the way that they did.
Bro, even prior to Porto, the way this team has played of late, right? At some point, the shoe was going to fall, right? And they struggled in other games to get late winners. They struggled to put a complete game together. They struggled to keep that consistency up. And so, obviously, the loss of Porto probably made some guys deflated a couple of guys, I should say. It made some guys try a little less harder, right? Because, a loss like that to your rival at home, late in the game, knowing the rest of the competition that team's going to face is going to take something dramatic for them to drop points. It is demoralizing. It is inflating. But this team has not played well. I mean, at some point, something was going to have to give. The difference was that Benfica always had the one guy in the box that when he had an opportunity, he never let us down. That was Jonas. Well, not never, but majority of the time, he would not. And now they didn't have those difference makers on the pitch when it most counted. And that bit you end up behind. Yeah. Because it's just the law of averages.
Yeah. Huh? I mean, you could argue, and I think that we've said this many, many times before, that Vitória's Benficas have always been successful due to the individualities.
Vitória, like Rui Vitória's Benfica, or the victories from
Portuguese? Rui Vitória's Benficas. They've always been dependent on the individual efforts. I mean, last year, if you guys follow, you know how many games Ederson kept us in, even won games for us. How many games he's won for us. And this year, you got the one guy that's the one individuality that makes the difference. He goes out, and it is what it is. Benfica struggles to score goals.
And they're not the same team defensively without Feja. The whole Samaris has not endeared himself to the fans by his playing style. Yes, he's a tremendous Benfiquista. I love the fact that the guy come over to Portugal, speaks better Portuguese than probably I do at this point. He's really, surrounded himself with that Portuguese mentality, and he's a diehard Benfiquista. Fine, but his game is not translated to what we expect at this point. And so when you take out a guy like Feja, who I think all of us, even the haters, will admit that he's by far the best defensive center mid, maybe not ball playing center mid, but he's the best defensive center mid in Portugal.
He balances
balls.
The team.
He's tremendous at doing so, and he's able to clog up a lot of the holes that Luizão probably left this week. Because let's be honest, Luizão wasn't the greatest this week, and maybe he masks a lot of those weaknesses with his tremendous defensive display. When he's not there and you sub him in with somebody who's not the same player, the team also suffers. So it wasn't just the Jonas thing. The Jonas thing was we're having trouble scoring goals. That's what it comes down to. But the whole team as a whole, I don't think played well.
Yeah, we don't even want to get into the Seferovic substitution for Zivkovic, as that turned out to be a repeat from what we saw a couple weeks ago. We all know that, and I think that everybody has the same opinion, that Zivkovic, when he's on the field, he's the guy that drives, he's the guy that carries the ball, he's the guy that could take people on, he's the guy that can make a pass. To substitute him when there's clearly other options. For example, at that point, Tondela wasn't playing with the forward; they were just behind. Why not take Luizão? Why not take Luizão out and put another guy? Put Seferovic up front.
Luizão, who had struggled mightily.
Well, look, I don't want to get down.
I'm not getting on the guy.
No, I don't want to get on the guy, because here's the thing, man. When you spend since December, as they've put up. Since December, when you haven't played in that long, and when you've always struggled with guys on one-on-one, guys that were faster than you, guys that could beat you for speed, you come in after that lengthy absence, you're going to struggle regardless. But even more of a reason why taking him out, not just. Absolutely.
Is he always had trouble with that type of game, but he's also not playing well. I'm not trying to harp on the guy. Look, the guy's been a tremendous Benfiquista for 14 years.
Yeah.
But Let's be honest. He didn't have a good game.
And the other thing is that you take Zivkovic out to put Seferovic, which supposedly is the guy that's going to be up front, and most of the time he spends on the left wing.
For me, forget Seferovic. For me, the question is this, and I think all the Benfiquistas, the main question should be this: what in the world does Pizzi have to do to get subbed off? Because it's not even about Seferovic. Just Pizzi could just walk out there butt naked like we've seen him in the locker room digging for gold, and nobody would even question what the hell is this guy doing on the field. The guy never comes out.
Yep.
And he sees so much of the ball too. I mean, when it was 2-1 and even 3-1, everything was going through Pizzi, and Pizzi couldn't make anything happen.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, lack of ideas, lack of desire, whatever you want to say, he couldn't get anything to go, and yet every ball was going to him. It was sad. Which, hey, that's another thing, man. Last year you have a Pizzi that was probably one of the most influential players in the team, one of the most influential players in the league,
voted player of the league, MVP.
You got what you got. You got a championship. Yeah. Individual talent came through and got you a championship.
Yeah.
This year, it's not looked that way.
Yeah. A couple more things before we go. Dave put up Jonas, 33 goals. The next guy is Salvi with 9 goals.
9.
Who missed 2 months himself? And he's still second leading scorer on the team. That goes to show you.
One last thing, and I think I was very vocal on Twitter, through the podcast Twitter. The one thing that I don't understand is after a loss that practically sealed any championship hopes that we might have had, as little as they were, after that loss at home in front of your fans that go out there knowing that the opportunity to win the Penta is slim to none, but they're still out there. They fill in the seats. They cheer for the team. After that loss, you send Raul Jimenez to the flash interview. Why don't you send the captain? Because regardless of his involvement in the past few months, he is the guy that needs to give face.
I'm gonna ask you a question. I'm gonna get a lot of hate for, but are these the same fans that were quiet against Porto? I was asking for a friend. I'm asking for a friend. I'm asking for a friend. As far as Jimenez, they weren't sending him out to the fans. They were sending him out to the media, to the mix zone. It wasn't like you got to come in the middle of the. I get it,
but look, asked for something else.
I get it, but you're after a terrible game in his part. It's one of Lizon's worst games in a long time. It's not.
No, but go ahead, finish and then
after one of his worst games, right? After all the year being, sunken out of the balloon, right? And obviously reality sinks in. Then now it's really going to take a miracle for things to come to fruition, right? They kind of said, if Luzon had a game himself, a good game, I think they would have said. I think they try to shield him away from. I get your point that in your toughest moments, you send the face of your franchise, you send your captain to go out there, and that's why he wears the armband. I get it, but I think they tried to shield him away from the abysmal afternoon that it was for the guy.
Why?
Because it was terrible. Luizão had a really bad game, bro.
But he did, but he's the captain. He's the leader. He's the guy that has a pulse on a locker room. He's the guy that's going to have the right words to say to the fan base, whether it's an apology, whether it's please don't give up on us, we're going to continue fighting. He is the one guy that's going to have the right words that fans want to hear. Not Raul Jimenez, and nothing against Raul Jimenez, man, because he's a guy that goes out there and gives it his all, right? But we need a guy that's the captain, that's the face of this locker room, that's the face of this team, regardless of whether he's been involved in the past few months or not. He needs to step up and show face in that flash interview.
I agree with you, but I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here. I think Benfica tried to shield him away from all the
dude. You want to shield the guy, you shield Rafa. You don't shield the captain, the guy that gets paid all the money and has all these accolades and has been voted by all his teammates to be the captain.
I understand 100%. 1,000%, but I think they tried to. After a torrid afternoon, I think they said, "Man, go have yourself a cold shower and chill out." I'm just being honest. Steve, I gotta say, bye, baby.
I wonder how much thought they even give to it, man. I really do. I mean, like,
Steve, they probably at that point.
I would hope that yes, they give it a whole bunch of thought and they think, okay, you know what, somebody's got to go out there and address this properly. But sometimes I wonder, man. Sometimes I really wonder.
If you're trying to safeguard the guy, send Pizzi, the goal scorer, a guy that's also a leader in the team.
I completely agree with you. I just wonder, like Chris was saying, devil's advocate, how much weight they actually even put onto that.
Listen, dude. Listen.
I actually, Alfredo, believe it or not, because Pizzi was one of the guys, as you were talking, I was thinking, maybe, but believe it or not, and Steve, I'm not trying to piggyback you. I'm just being. I agree with Steve because I my mind's always running, and I said maybe they just don't even pay it. They don't give a crap. I don't think they care. Alfredo, I get your point.
If you're
not wrong.
No. But here's my counter. Right? If you're a world-class organization, right, with the structure that you advertise to be one of the best in many years, these are the things
structure
that
we were supposed to trust. Trust the process, trust the structure.
Not even trust the process. This and again, I'm not trying to pile on here, but this is the same. They just look. It's not been a good year.
No.
Between all the BS on Twitter, between all the answers back, it's not been a good year. What we'd call a good representation of our club. And so or
even the structure.
I actually agree with Steve too. I don't even think they think or care.
They have to think of these things.
Look, we've dealt with them, and I've dealt with them, and you know the arguments I've had with them.
You think they play short of straw and
I don't think
the whole 11 pick one?
I don't think they care. I don't. That's actually. I don't think they.
That's the shit that's.
Here's my thing. Here's my thing. Who do you think makes that decision? Is it the guy that got into a fight with Chris down in Toronto?
No.
Or an argument?
New York.
It's the other.
Well, I think he followed you everywhere he went. But anyway,
I forget his name, but it's the dude that walked. No, it's the dude that walks with Vitória. He should be the guy making that decision.
You think so?
The sporting director. I forget what his name is.
Rui Costa.
No.
I forget what his name is. Dave, can you look that up real quick? It's a guy that sits on a bench in a suit with Rui Vitória.
Carvalho.
No, man. No. Listen.
If you go on 0-0, his name might be listed as one of the, like a junt or something like that.
No, he's not a junt, man. He's a sporting director. He's the
sporting director.
Yeah,
isn't that Rui Costa?
No, dude. No.
What's Rui Costa's official title?
I forget his name. If somebody knows on Twitter,
Luis Bernard.
No, that's the
PR
guy.
That's the PR guy.
Yeah, no say.
I know that somebody has to know. Go on 0-0. I'm sure it's there, dude.
We need another stats guy.
We need a fourth one.
I don't know his name, and I don't want to just throw out. I don't want to throw out.
We'll get it after. We'll put it up on our Twitter.
Let's move on into the derby now. But you guys, I think everybody could share the frustration that we had in the past 3 weeks now, and we will have a show. I promise we will have a show where we'll dissect the whole season and we'll point some fingers and we'll offer our opinion as to what went wrong this season. And I think for the most part, you guys all know how we feel because we've been pointing it out since July. So it's going to be nothing new, but
2016.
Now it's not the time to get into that. So now we come up on a derby. Which happens this Saturday, 8:30 local at Estádio José Alvalade 21, whatever it's called. Sporting currently with the same record as us, 24 wins, 5 ties, 3 losses. At home, 14 wins, 2 ties, no losses. They have scored 32 goals at home, or have only allowed 4 goals this season at the Alvalade. Benfica away, 11 wins, 4 ties, 1 loss. 36 goals, if I'm not mistaken, and 13 goals allowed. Last 5 at Alvalade, 1 win, 1 loss, 3 ties. That 1 loss came actually for the Portuguese Cup after PKs. Last 10 head-to-heads, 3 wins, 3 losses, 4 ties. So a very evenly matched head-to-head in the past 10 and also the last 5. But here we are, right? So it's a derby. And I think that when it comes to derby, and you guys have heard us say this, everything goes out the window. So usually not always is the team that's in a better moment is the team that they're going to win derbies. So that's the one spin that I'm putting on this. But seeing what Benfica has gone through in the past couple of weeks after losing to Porto, against Tondela, and now against Tondela, I just don't know if the team has the mental strength to face this Sporting. And there's tons and tons to play for. The financial ramifications of not making the Champions League are huge, especially because all the money has gone up from qualifying to wins to even ties. That money has gone up, and I don't think that Benfica is in a position to give up that money, especially knowing the model in which Benfica operates in, selling club. Also, we have said here, and this Steve said it first here, that the club doesn't have any money to buy players. So knowing what we know right now, and just giving up that Champions League money is huge.
Look, we could always sell Jimenez for 50 million, right?
If we could, he'd be
or
gone.
Varela for 15.
You know, Varela, he's not going for 15.
If you guys were paying attention to Twitter, Cristiano promised
I ain't saying nothing about promise.
he said that if Varela is sold for anything close to 15 million, he will wear a Borat bikini, a mankini.
I will.
Very nice.
Because there's no way in hell. I'll wear that, and right after I take that off, I'm going to drive and fly to whoever the hell buys 15 and slap them, because, like, how dumb could you be? But that's another story for another day. Go ahead, Steve.
But, Chris, how close is 15? You said close to 15 million. What's close? 14.5?
I'll be fair. Anything over 13.
Everything over 13?
Anything over 13 is close.
There you go. You heard it here. Screen cap it.
I'm starting to get worried. You guys really want to see me in a mankini, huh?
I really want him to go for 15 mil, but I do not want to see that.
Yeah. George Mendes is going to send them to Wolves.
Wolves got better backup.
Who doesn't?
Ouch.
Let's not pile
anyway, Dave, were you able to find that out or no?
No, he sent it to me. There's nobody. It's Ricardo Lems, man. There's nobody.
No, Ricardo Lems, pai. That's the guy that walks with.
I could picture the guy that you're talking about.
Okay, estás pronto.
But I don't know his name.
Arnaldo Teixeira.
No,
Sérgio
that's the
Coelho, Bruno Mendes, Paulo Moura. Não, os preparador físico, those are none of the guys.
Não é.
Lá estás tu. Opa, estás-me a dizer a mim, então, o Marco Pedroso.
Não é, pá. Não é.
Minervino Pietra.
Não é.
No, obviously not him.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. There's nobody here.
You guys are just not
looking in the right places.
You guys
Domingos Soares de Oliveira.
No,
okay.
That's...
Epá, o Silvio Servém, vice-presidente. Não, Servão. Ricardo Lemos. That's the guy, bro.
That's not the dude.
So then it's Luis Bernardo. This is the only two that make
Luis Bernardo is the PR guy.
Okay, that's it. Não vai ser o primeiro.
You have to screenshot it to the guy's face. I think I know who you're looking at. No.
No way,
of the guy.
It's not. He's not a coach.
No, he comes out sometimes with Rui Vitoria after halftime and stuff. I know what you're talking about. Looks wise, but I don't know his name. It's not Arnaldo Teixeira either. I know that guy is.
That was João.
Yeah.
Dave, see if you could go on Benfica's website and find out if there's a link there.
Poor Dave. Go for Dave. Go for.
Earn your money, dude. Come on. Anyway. So here we are with the derby, and as we were saying, Cristiano Benfica can't afford to give up this money.
No, absolutely not.
So it's a game that's very important for all the marbles.
The good thing is Benfica doesn't need a victory here, right? Anything over a 0-0 draw, any draw that's not 0-0 favors Benfica. So the worst case scenario, 1-1 draw. Benfica still in the driver's seat, has to win the last game of the year, and Benfica qualify second because they'll have the tiebreaker. That being said, it's a very tough game. Obviously, Sporting is hitting on all cylinders of late. You guys, as you guys know, they played well in the Champions League. Europa League against a team like Atletico Madrid. So their confidence is tremendously high. They've been a little fortunate with late goals, but at the same time, that's what these players make the money is to be there and be crucial and come up with big goals at the big moments. That being said, I got to be fair. Like I mentioned earlier before about the fouls and the goals. Yeah, I try to be as fair as I possibly could be. And I came here a couple of weeks ago and we talked about football with Porto, and I said, when it comes to these clásicos and derbies, I always throw the form out the window because of the rivalries. Those rivalries, the players, the juices, those guys will amp themselves up and they want to compete because these are the biggest games of the year when the schedule comes out.
I got it.
As a Porto, Benfica, and a Sporting player, the first games you look for is the games against your crosstown rivals.
This is the dude. Thiago Pinto.
Yeah.
Trompinson.
Wasn't he a left back? Thank you.
That's not him. That's not him. You know, let me see if Steve. That's the dude.
Yeah, that's the dude. That's the guy.
That's the dude.
All right. So now getting back to business.
Well done.
Getting back to business. Going into this derby, Benfica knows what's at stake, and even though they might be demoralized over the last two terrible defeats at home at the Stadio da Luz, that being said, I believe the team will show up to play at the Stadio Alvalade. I believe the team knows what's at stake. This is more than just a game. This actually turns out to be Benfica's biggest game of the year, and not just because it's against a crosstown rival, but it's also because of that Champions League spot, the money, the millions that's at stake, the fact that every single player, at least playing in the big leagues, dreams of playing in the Champions League. This is what it's about. Everyone wants to play on a Tuesday or Wednesday night, and this is their one opportunity to assure themselves of that opportunity next year. So I do think the team will come in, they will show up, they will play a big game. And let's not forget, guys, we sat here months ago in December 6th, that week leading up to December 6th at the game at the Stadio da Luz, where Benfica, their season was atrocious at the moment. Sporting was hitting it just like now. Sporting was hitting on all cylinders, and Benfica, even though it was a 1-1 draw at the Stadio da Luz, Benfica shocked everyone by playing tremendous football, and that was the game that turned their season around. And until now, until the little hiccup over the last couple of weeks. But that game right there was the game that springboarded this team into having a very good run the second half of the season. So I do anticipate that Benfica will throw away all the garbage and all that noise that's surrounding them over the last couple of weeks, and they will show up at the Stadio Alvalade to play this weekend and come out with a good performance.
Yeah. Steve, do you think this is the last time for the team and Rui Vitória to save face this season?
It's got to be, because imagine the repercussions if we don't. We're a selling club. We have players that really don't have much market at this moment. One that has a market I do not want to sell. Ruben Dias is going to the World Cup more than likely. Zivkovic probably has some. Grimaldo, but we don't have Renato.
Don't forget.
We don't have. Yeah, thanks. We don't have Gonçalo Guedes. We don't have any of those players that have made a name for themselves this year. So we don't even have that value on the squad. So take away the Champions League, which is money. Take away the allure
at least
that
20 million. Don't worry about it.
Thank God.
I heard 40 today, guys.
Yeah,
which I don't believe, but
let it happen.
Italian media is reporting 40.
So aside from those sales, the Champions League also hopefully could let you lure in some players, maybe from South America.
And don't forget, João Felix for another gazillion to PSG.
Geez, God, hopefully no. I'd like to see him at least play for the first team before that would happen.
Agree, 1,000%.
There you go. I mean, to not be in the Champions League next year is huge. So they got to have that play with that in their mind. But how much do they actually like? How much does that affect Pizzi, whether or not we play in the Champions League next year?
I think
how much or not does that affect Almeida or whoever? I mean, the actual individual on the team, his salary is not going to be any lower.
Steve, this is a game that the president is going to be in the locker room prior to.
He was already in the locker room.
But this is a game that he's going to be. I'm not saying he hasn't been, but this game, everyone will emphasize the importance. I think the players themselves, man, look, whether their salary gets affected or not, Steve, this is the type of game that professionals show up to play. Not just the fact that it's your rival. I mean, it's your crosstown rival, right? Everybody knows that their whole family members will be tuned to this game. Watch. These guys are going to want to represent themselves. On top of it, you got the Champions League at stake. This game is more important, more so than the Porto game, because, yeah, as devastating as it is not to win the Penta, not qualifying for next year's Champions League, to me, that's way more catastrophic. And I think, as I said, if Benfica is not champion, I think Rui Vitória, sayonara, mon ami. That's not going to be the case. And now, look, they has to win this game. I don't think there is no ands, ifs, or buts about it. He absolutely has to win, or at least draw, come out of there. Can't be a goalless draw. 0-0 for Sporting. Sporting score at Stadio da Luz, and therefore they'll have the goal advantage. So it has to be 1-1, 2-2. It could be 10-10. I don't give a crap what it is. But Benfica cannot come away with a 0-0 draw or a defeat in this game. Anything but a defeat or a 0-0 draw, Benfica's in the driver's seat.
Yeah, understand. Also, guys, don't sleep on Braga. Benfica loses this game. Braga wins the game. They're tied up against Benfica.
Yeah, but
even
Benfica
though on a head-to-head, but still, the way the team has been playing, and you got the last game at home.
But at least it's at home.
Well, usually on big games like this, we usually give or I actually ask you guys for some keys to the game, and I think that we really don't need to go into that. The key to the game is for the team to show up and play. To me, that's the biggest key. You have to show up and play, regardless of what the matchups are, regardless of whether Almeida is going to be fit to face Gelson or whoever, or Acuna on that side. The team has to be fit. Has to play.
And I know a lot of you guys aren't fans, right? And obviously, no one wants to see Andre Almeida leave injured. But I thought Douglas came in and he played all right.
He came in
on which side? On which side of the half?
Which side of the ball?
Second half. I only saw second half, Steve. I didn't get.
Well, on which side of the ball?
I thought attacking at least. He got himself involved. He got good.
Sure.
He got good. Where I don't think Andre Almeida would have served the same type of ball. I thought he looked decent going for it. Defending, we all know that's always been a touchy subject.
There's no doubt in my mind that he's got more technical ability than Almeida.
Yeah.
But that technical ability is not all that there is. The dude cannot defend. His intensity level is nowhere near what it needs to be. Yeah, that was
Steve, I'm not saying the contrary, Steve. All I'm saying is that I thought
he was not as bad
going forward. And look, for a guy that we sit here and we absolutely crap on the whole year, I think it's important to, when they finally do a couple of positive things, not be nice, but to mention them. Because if we're the first ones to sit here and point out all your flaws, I have to point out some positives when there are some positives. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm trying to turn it a little bit into from negative to negative. Look, the guy's atrocious defensively.
But two negatives make a positive, dude. Don't worry.
I dropped out at that time, bro, when I was learning that stuff. I never got to really memorize it.
Yeah. Cristiano's all about fairness today.
I've always today. Haven't I always been?
I don't get him started.
But haven't I always been? Listen.
Cristiano's all about fairness.
Yes, you're all about fairness. And the pipes.
Yeah. So let's see if there's some Twitter questions.
Even the fans are demoralized. The fans don't want to hit us up on Twitter. Yeah.
Mateus wants some words of encouragement. There's still a lot to play for.
Carrega Benfica.
Look, the team has to show up. We'll play. Põe mute. I want to ask you something real quick with the mics off.
I speak, guys. Steve. Give us your thoughts. Give us your thoughts on the importance. No, seriously.
No, point on mute. I want to ask you something real quick.
I want Steve's thoughts on the
talk about being discreet, huh?
Yeah, I just had to check with Cristiano something real quick before I mentioned.
I think Steve agrees. Look, and we don't want to say it, but if I'm scared. I'm scared because if
predictions is that what we're doing now?
Hold on. I'm very scared if Benfica don't pull off a positive result here at Stade. This could take a few years to recover from. And I know,
years.
Yeah, because
seriously, I'm worried about that too.
I am. Because the money's so drastic now, and we've seen Benfica become a sell club over the last couple of years. I mean, a lot of people, the Rui Vitoria stands, are still telling you the reason why they're not champions now is none of his fault. It's all due to the fact that there is no caliber replacements. And if you think this year was bad and then they miss out, it's going to get even worse. So I really am worried because the way that things are now, the gap could widen between the haves and the have-nots. And when you get in the type of money that the Sporting and the Portos will be getting from the Champions League and Benfica is coming from behind and trailing, it's going to be hard. It's going to be very hard. So I'm very worried about this weekend. And I think that, and I keep emphasizing, this weekend's game is by far the bigger than 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago at the Stade losing against Flóculo do Porto.
Now, yeah.
It is. Yeah.
It's bigger because that game
Even if you beat Porto, this game is still a huge game.
That game, even though you could have won that game and still came out in second, right? And your position wouldn't. How do I put it? Your Champions League spot wouldn't be in doubt. Now it's in doubt. Now it's in question, and you have to make sure that you lock up that Champions League spot. It's imperative to come away with a positive result. You can't come away with anything but goals, whatever. The goals, draws with goals, or a victory, bro. It could get real ugly, guys.
Yeah. Let's do the predictions. I'll go first. I'm saying 2-1 Benfica. Cristiano?
1-1.
Steve?
1-1.
Dave?
1-1 and Jonas plays.
But
yeah,
Jonas will play. But I think JJ.
Let's face it, play.
Knowing JJ that like
Face is fine, dude. Come on.
I love how you guys.
Face and Jardel, I think, are absolutely fine. I didn't get to talk about this, but I think Rui Vitória is finally feeling some sort of pressure. That is completely against his MO to hold players back, and he fed that to the media that they're hurt.
Steve, where were you when this conversation was taking place?
You guys were talking too much. I couldn't jump in. Anyway, that's the way I feel about that. I from the moment that I saw those guys missing, I was like, they got to be a yellow card. Just no. He at this moment is feeling the pressure, which is fine. He should be. Jesus Christ, if he didn't feel pressure now, when is he going to feel it? But that's leading him to say stupid shit in pressers. That's leading him to make decisions that don't really fall in line with what he's done before, and that's what I feel.
Yeah, I mentioned.
The goleada por 2-1. Yeah, come on.
I mentioned that last week that he was cracking because of
what did he say this week?
He was making in the pressers were very didn't seem that calculated. It just seemed like reactionary that he's doing. But he's definitely feeling the pressure, man. I mean, he obviously addressed the substitution thing after the Porto game. So he obviously saw the criticism in regards to substitution. He felt that he had to address it. So he's definitely feeling the pressure. He has been feeling the pressure for a while. So we'll see. So all of us with positive results for Benfica, which would put Benfica in a driver's seat.
But knowing JJ the way we know JJ, I won't be surprised if he tries to play for the 0-0 draw, knowing that it favors
JJ. That's maluco, man. JJ vai cair em cima do Benfica, man.
JJ wants to put the foot to the throat, I'm sure.
Like he did at the start of the loop.
High press, a different setting, Chris. Okay. High press and very aggressive.
I've been shocked by less from JJ. That's all I'm trying to say.
High press and aggressive. I think that JJ wants to take advantage of this momentum that Sporting is in right now, especially considering how they won this past week. Or really a last-minute goal by Bruno Fernandes. Considering everything that's gone on in the past 3 weeks with the whole Athletic Madrid criticism by the president and so on and so forth, he wants to take advantage of this opportunity to call all the plaudits to him, not only to him, but for the team, because he said that it's about the team and it's about the club, not about anything else. So I think that if I know JJ the way he is, he's going to go after this result like no other game. So expect that.
Okay, you heard it here first.
Anyway,
I've been surprised by less.
Cristiano and I are going to be out there for this game. We had a choice between the Porto game and this game, and I told Cristiano that the Porto game would be when I felt the team needed me more. But here it is.
Aye.
The team needs us more now, Cristiano, as you mentioned. Most important game of the season. Anyway,
I'm gonna give the guys a pep talk going into the game, Steve. I got you.
That's all. That's all we really got. Dave, anything you wanted to mention, Mo?
No, you guys have a good, safe trip.
Chant
lots. Don't be quiet. We've already criticized the fans enough on this podcast.
Yeah, that's right. So that's pretty much it. I know that Steve will be in front of his TV watching this game. Since Barca's already wrapped up the championship, no need to check on that.
No need to watch that, right?
Yeah.
There's only one thing about the whole Barca championship that made me happy. That made me smile.
That
was it.
especially after the Champions League
What's he won,
mistake.
4 in a row now? 3 in
Nice
a
to,
row. 3 in a row.
nice to see Smithu and Ederson win championships in their first year and have
And Silva.
and yeah, well, I mean directly from our club to Oh, here we go. But anyway, to have some influence in the results as well. I mean, Ederson was huge. Nelson played his parts, although not as big as Ederson, but he definitely showed up. So kudos to them.
All right. Don't forget to check out our friends over at planetbenfica.co.uk. BenficaPodcast.com is where you can find all the episodes. Also on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and Google Music. Cristiano on Twitter at 10CO10. Steve is over at Steve Santos 6. Dave doesn't have Twitter, so don't bother looking. And at Benfica Podcast is where you can find the Twitter for the podcast. That's all we have. We will be back next week. We're going to get back from Portugal on Tuesday, so I don't know if we're recording this on Tuesday, most likely Wednesday. So we will have our first-person account of what went on in the Derby for all of you, and I hope that you guys check back in. Thanks very much for checking us out. Carrega Benfica. Vamos lá. See you, everybody.